All right, hello and welcome to episode 11 of the Outside the Numbers podcast. I am Shelby Allen,
I'm Ethan Manjuri.
and today we are going to be recapping the 2023 NFL Draft. A lot of crazy trades and a lot of crazy news that came in right before the draft, like in the day, like Wednesday and Tuesday. We got that Aaron Rodgers news, we got the Lamar Jackson news. Now I know you're you're doing your research on this a bit. Is Aaron Rodgers? This is the question that I come up with. Is Aaron Rodgers already the best New York Jet quarterback of all time?
I think it's like looking at the list,
Mm-hmm.
not very many notable names,
Mm-hmm. The
until
the
Brett
most
Favre.
noteworthy being Joe Namath. I guess probably Brett Favre if you consider him.
Yeah, that's a good debate, I would suppose. But I mean, it seems like as soon as he put pen to paper, he became the greatest quarterback in Jets history.
Yeah, and funny enough, it immediately I didn't even think about this. It immediately becomes contingent on whether or not you consider Aaron Rodgers to be a better quarterback than Brett Favre, which is already funny because neither of them like played a significant portion of their career in New York. I mean, assuming Rodgers is going to play maybe a year or two.
Yeah,
But like the two greatest Jets quarterbacks of all time are like 15-year Green Bay Packer veterans that are just like basically just doing a retirement tour. It's not even a
yeah, no,
real playing
it's
career.
so that's what I feel like is going to happen again to Rodgers, and I feel like he
Yeah.
doesn't he doesn't see it that way, which is going to be more fun and more dramatic from him.
I love every second of it. I love seeing Rodgers courtside at all these New York games at the
Right.
Rangers and the Knicks and stuff. I mean, it's incredibly fun. Where do you find yourself in terms of rooting for or against Aaron Rodgers? Because I'm still trying to sort it out myself. I don't really have an answer, but I'm curious to see how you feel about it.
I mean, I always like to root for the underdog, and that has been the Jets
Mm-hmm.
for since ever. So it's fun to see them do well, and it seems like they have a decent little offense that they're trying to build up. So I would like to cheer for the team, but I mean, Aaron recently has just not been someone that is easy to root for.
Right.
Just yeah, from my perspective, just like being so wishy washy and cryptic and just making it so much about himself and taking it away from the game. But if he has to do well in order for the Jets and all their young players to do well, then so be it.
That's basically how I feel. I feel like he's holding a lovable underdog hostage,
Right.
basically.
Yeah.
And now I have
Yeah.
to, he's basically forcing me to root for him, which against my will. I think,
Yeah.
maybe that was his plan all along is to, I mean, because I don't know, I think he's aware of how he's perceived. And he just has this air of like, oh, I don't care. I'm
Yeah.
totally
No, I
unaffected
think
by it.
he's playing into it for sure because it's
Yeah,
getting clicks.
it's working.
And
Yeah, that
so,
Pat McAfee show,
yeah.
500,000 live viewers on a YouTube. I mean, that's crazy to pull in. But somehow, you know what? No, I can't say that's actually. I think the Rogers news does top our next headline, but Lamar Jackson immediately leapfrogs Jalen Hurts' contract by about what is it like 10 million guaranteed
And
dollars.
yeah.
He signs a $260 million contract extension with 185 million guaranteed against I believe Jalen Hurts is 179 guaranteed, so just a little bit more,
Yeah. It's
which
five
is
years, isn't it?
5. Yep, same
Yeah.
same length, like 10 million total more and 6 million guaranteed more. Which we talked about this a bit. It does feel to me like I would personally rather have the next like 2 or 3 years of Lamar Jackson than Jalen Hurts, but I would much rather have the next 5 years of Jalen Hurts than the next of Lamar. I mean, I know Lamar's not that much
Yeah.
older,
Yeah.
but one of them is kind of reaching maybe the epicenter or the middle of their prime, and
Right.
another's just entering it. So for Lamar's to contract to top Jalen Hurts, this has to be the deal, the benchmark that he's been pushing for all along.
Yeah. No, he's got to be happy with it. I mean, it's It makes him the highest paid now, doesn't it?
Oh
For
yeah, yeah.
another however many days until.
Right until Joe Burrow. Although Joe Burrow, and this is interesting for the Jalen Hurts contract. Joe Burrow just takes the 5-year extension, which just makes me like he's the same year as Jalen Hurts. Just makes you think like what why not just do that with Hurts, pay him very
Yeah,
little, and try to extend that window. Yeah, when we didn't hear Hurts
I don't
really
know.
saying anything about it. What are you gonna do?
I don't know. Maybe Burrow's doing the kind of Brady thing where he's just like saying, focus on building the rest of the team. I'll take care of how I play. And I mean, because that's what he did when he got to Tampa, you know,
Yeah,
took a massive pay cut from what he deserved and had him build the team up and took him to the Super Bowl. So,
yeah, helped him build a line, helped him build a defense, and similarly, he arrived on the team when I mean I think did Jamar Chase get there that same year or he was a year later, right? I think he was a year later.
oh, I should really know this.
Well,
I
yeah,
think it was
LSU boy
I
over here,
think it was a
yeah,
year later though.
yeah, it was. I think it was, but yeah, similar to Tampa Tom, just like pull up T Higgins, Jamar Chase, like two rock solid wide receivers. Just you need something else to build around. So I'm happy for the Bengals. That contract isn't going to get talked about as much until the 5 years are up and he gets signed to like what will certainly be the biggest contract
Yeah,
in NFL history
yeah,
again. But all that is great, but we have got NFL draft content to get to. A crazy, crazy trade filled first round. I felt like a lot to follow. So we're going to break down some of the trades, some of the actual picks, maybe some winners and losers. Number one, the Carolina Panthers go chalk and just pick up Bryce Young.
yeah.
How do you feel?
I thought it made sense, and that's what I mean. I thought they were going to go quarterback. I really wasn't sure who they were going to go after, but Bryce Young is a big name. Alabama, it's a safe bet, I think.
Yeah, and it does feel like there's been a little bit more of a bump with like Jalen Hurts and well,
Mhm.
I could have made this more with Mac Jones, but Alabama quarterbacks, Mac Jones now makes that argument a little bit harder. But no, it's the safe pick, and it's actually funny looking back. I feel like everything prior to like a week before the draft was just total smokescreens with them trying to like
Mhm.
convince people that it was CJ Stroud. I think they had made that decision because what we ended up seeing was like Bryce Young, CJ Stroud, Anthony Richardson, and then just total drop off. Like those were the only three quarterbacks, and I would
Yeah,
feel pretty safe betting that all three of those teams wanted those quarterbacks in that order and only ended up where they were because I mean I know Jim Irsay had that tweet that was like, oh, we would have drafted Anthony Richardson at one. It's just you wouldn't have,
oh, well,
you
yeah,
know,
probably not. I know.
probably not.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I didn't. Yeah, I thought if there was a quarterback going at one, it's probably going to be Bryce Young. It just kind of makes sense.
And then the Texans,
Texans, how about that?
yeah, that was
That
crazy,
is
man.
two in a row. I didn't.
Yeah, I
That
love
was.
that they did it live too. It makes I mean like they could have done it beforehand or something. And dude, I've been trying to figure out like did they think did they think that the Colts were going to pick up Will Anderson?
Well, so
Like
that's
what
what I
is the
was looking at. It
rationale?
seems like it was just for fun, almost.
Right? Yeah.
Like because that's not even close to what the Colts were going after. But
No.
I mean, it was super interesting because that like just to see a team have two in a row.
It's funny to see teams that move up, well like two in a row exactly. Teams that move up one spot in a trade is so
Yeah,
confusing to me because you're like, what does that conversation look like with the other team where they're basically just saying like, we're going to take your player unless you trade up into our spot? Like, couldn't you just bluff that all the time
yeah,
if you're a
you
GM?
could. Yeah,
Yeah.
it's
I guess you
tricky.
have to
I
figure
don't.
out who the other team's trying to pick, but
Yeah, and then hope that that's who they're actually that who they say they're trying to pick is who they're actually trying to pick. I don't
right.
know.
And in this particular trade, it's worth highlighting. Like I think everybody pretty initially was like, "Oh shoot!" Like they really did. They went out. They got the best available quarterback, maybe the best available defensive player. I mean, I know there's a lot of Jalen Carter
Yeah,
discussion, but what they gave up for this pick is actually crazy. So they sent the Cardinals the 12th overall pick,
Yeah,
the
and then
33rd
2024.
overall pick, which is like
Oh,
almost a first rounder. And then on top of that, a 2024 first round pick and a 2024 third round pick. So,
I didn't
like,
even know about the 2024 third.
yeah.
Yeah,
I mean,
gum.
this is a big. They gave up a ton to get just Will Anderson. So they had C.J. Stroud and the 12th pick that was almost in Jalen Carter
Yeah,
territory, but I mean they gave up a ton. So there's a lot riding on this Texan season.
that 12th pick got a lot of action. It got
Oh yeah, are you looking at
yeah,
where it moved around?
yeah,
Yeah.
it got traded through a lot. Nobody wanted to be there.
No. And who ended up going it? Oh yeah, the Lions. So
Jamar
the Lions
Gibbs.
ended up taking Jahmyr Gibbs with that pick, which stunned a lot of people. I know we're jumping around, but it's worth it. That pick kind of blew people's minds because it was they have DeAndre Swift. They
Hmm.
really could have gotten Gibbs probably at like 20 or later. I mean, it doesn't feel like there was a ton of rush on running backs. They felt the need to do it, and the video from their war room was like absolute chaos. They were
Yeah,
so excited about it, and it was like, I mean, look, he better be really good because I think most people don't look at him as the best running back even in the class. So
no,
to pick him at
no.
12 and to trade up to do it, I don't know. I could not figure that one out.
But they were super excited. I did see that
Right.
all over Twitter. People were like, what are they doing? Why are they
Yeah.
acting like this? He just gave
Like,
away so much to get.
yeah, I gotta find the details of this pick. Wait, where did they get it? Okay, so they gave the Cardinals the sixth overall pick to trade back to number 12. So I guess they just knew the whole time that they were picking Gibbs, and they were like, "Oh, it'd be silly to pick him at 6 overall, especially because Bijan Robinson. They could have picked Bijan Robinson. Wait,
Yeah,
what are
that's
we
what I'm saying.
doing?" I sorry, you had that figured out, and I put it together live because I I had not thought about that. They could have
Yeah,
just gave
he was
nothing away and gotten Bijan Robinson.
right because he went at 8.
What am I missing?
He went at 8, which is 2 after
After the
where
six
they were
over.
at.
Oh,
I don't
it's
know
gonna
what they're
take
doing.
me a while to figure this one
Dude,
out.
this is. I feel like no, because I've been looking at this for a while,
Okay.
and I can't make any sense of it. And it really seems like a really good picture of the Lions front office.
Yeah.
And you look at where the team is at and how they're doing and not having the best time. Maybe they need some new leadership because I don't understand the motivation unless there was something under the table.
Yeah. There's certainly something we don't know. There is also the like near century long history of the Lions in which not too much success has been had. So like I'm
Right.
quicker to think that was just an error. However, so it's worth noting they received the 34th overall pick as part of that deal to move back. They received that from the Cardinals, but they also already had like an early 30s pick of their own. Like
Mm-hmm.
it really is stunning to me. It feels unnecessary. They used that pick on Laporta, who's a tight end who I can only think of because he was picked before the tight end the Cowboys pick at midway through the second round. Um, it feels like we had such a concrete picture of the tight end class, and then nobody followed it. Like Michael Mayer was around super late. Um, Dalton Kincaid
Yeah.
all the way to 24. I mean, we really didn't have the run on tight ends that we thought we were going to. No, an absolute like a blender of a draft. You like every time you look at the screen, a new team is traded into the spot that was about to get picked,
It was
and
getting hard to
a
keep up
lot to
with, to
follow.
be honest.
Yeah,
'Cause
yeah.
I
Starting
was,
with the
yeah,
Texans, just like it looked like a glitch because it was like they had just picked, and then it's like Texans on the clock, and they're like, oh, they haven't switched
right. Yeah,
the
right.
runner. That's weird, you know. So yeah,
Well,
no.
and
So
then all
we'll
those
keep
trades
going
going
through it.
on, and the Saints didn't get into the first round.
Yeah, I'm sorry, dog.
And it's,
it's it's tough.
it just be that way sometimes, and you just got to
Yeah.
take it.
Now, I will say we at least have some fun competition. I have to scroll really far down to find the Saints. Yikes! Sorry, man.
Yep. No,
But
it's fine. It's
that
okay.
y'all picked a defensive tackle, right?
Yes, and I
Somewhere
am
late
happy
in
with the
the
pick.
yeah. But I know you did. Y'all pick before us or after us? Did y'all swap with the Eagles? Were you 32, or was it like, or was it
Uh,
early second? You're good. I've almost got it. It was Brian Breesy is the
mhm.
pick. Yeah, 29. So like literally right at the end. So y'all picked after Dallas, right? And y'all picked Brian Breesy. Dallas picked Mozzie Smith, and they're both defensive
Yeah, because y'all
tackles.
are
And now
26.
I'm thinking like there needs to be some type of wager or game related to the performance of these two players on the
Okay.
Cowboys and Saints. Because I mean, I'm always gonna think my immediate thought as a Cowboys fan is Brian Breesy is going to be a Hall of Fame defensive tackle because he was available when the Cowboys picked
And he
Mozzie
was
Smith.
picked
That's just
shortly
like where
after.
my
Yeah.
right. I'm like, you always see that kind of thing, and it also reminds me we need to hammer out a segment or a way in which we can properly track the performance of these guys against where they were picked, and look at it later in the year. Because at one point in the first round, there were 4 straight wide receivers picked,
Yeah.
which I haven't seen an official stat about, but it feels like I cannot remember a time where any position was picked one, two, three, like 4 in a
No.
row in the first round. So I'm like, we need to definitely keep track of how each one of those receivers does compared to one another, because this has potential to be Jalen Rager, Justin Jefferson, like to the max, like a
Yeah.
whole wide range of
Have
comparison, and watch seeing
and
who messed it up.
every other team punch in the air.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's going to be pretty interesting.
Yeah, the last on the list being the best of the bunch. So let's see. So Colts pick Anthony Richardson. Somebody tell Jim Irsay to stay off Twitter. Atlanta Falcons. Atlanta Falcons pick Bijan, and I still haven't figured out if I even think the Eagles were going to take Bijan with Jalen Carter on the board. Am I crazy in thinking that this was a 1-for-1 direct, like they stole him from Philly, or were they going to go Carter all the way?
I don't know. I don't know if they were going to go Carter all the way. I don't fully believe that any team ever goes all the way on a player. But, I mean, like you said earlier, Jalen Carter has been talked about as the best defensive player in the draft this year. So,
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it's definitely possible that he was all that they wanted to from the beginning. But, I mean, they need a running back. Robinson's really good. I would feel like they were interested in him and the Falcons took him. That's what it seems like to me.
Mm-hmm. Like
But
maybe it was.
then,
I mean, it wasn't like their whole goal.
yeah, because I mean, you're not going to be too mad about it when you get Jalen Carter with the next pick, you
Right.
know. But had they been at pick 8, I really don't know what they would have done. They probably would have taken Jalen Carter just because he's higher up in his field, you know.
Right. And it does feel to me like maybe they stole him. We'll never really know. But they get rid of. I mean, they lost Miles Sanders, and now they pick up DeAndre Swift from the Lions. But the backfield is not like great. You know, I mean, they didn't do a ton. I don't know about later rounds of the offensive line, but it does feel like they are fully saying like we're going to focus on defense. Jalen Hurts has it under control. They must really feel comfortable with their backfield, because it's also funny that they like why did they see the Falcons pick Bijan and then trade up one spot? Like as a general manager, this logic for like one
Well,
picks on trades is baffling to me.
so that might make sense if that was the two players that they were looking at, and now one of them's gone.
So
They just
interesting.
get up there and make sure that you get the one guy that you need or that you wanted out of the two since one of them's already gone.
That is the best
Just to
explanation I've heard.
just to
Yeah.
guarantee that you get one of the two guys that you want. Because I mean the Bears need everybody too. So like the Bears wouldn't have been upset with getting Jalen Carter.
No, and I saw a lot of Bears fans that were really pissed
Yeah.
that the Bears gave up that spot and obviously the ability to pick Jalen Carter. I also saw the argument of people saying like with how like reliable the leadership is in Philadelphia, it's probably better for Jalen Carter instead of going to like a 3-11 team that's kind of a mess. Like
Yeah.
instead
Yeah.
go to like a really well run organization where maybe it gives his career a better chance off the field. But yeah, no, interesting. I really like that idea of just like they needed Bijan or Jalen Carter and they got it done. A lot of good press for Eagles GM Howie Roseman.
Yes.
And I mean, well deserved. I'm not stoked about it. I'm not going to sing his praises,
Oh,
but it does feel like it's kind of ridiculous at points. Like he could
oh
do
yeah.
no wrong. Yeah.
Yeah. No, especially when it bleeds past Philly Twitter, like Eagle when
Mm-hmm.
it because the Saints talk about Mickey Loomis like he's a god. They're like,
Right.
all praise Mickey Loomis. He will figure it out. He'll push the cap into the future somehow, and memes about
Which
everything.
he's
But
still
I feel
doing.
like, yeah, which and someday it's gonna
10
crumble.
years
But
running.
you know, maybe we can get some Super Bowls before that happens. Probably not, but it doesn't really make it past like the Saints community. You know what I mean? So
Mm-hmm.
but it's funny that it was reaching like NFL memes,
Oh yeah, it's
and
everywhere.
yeah, big deal.
Yeah, so next thing, so a little bit of disappointment for Dallas. I know that we were talking a lot about Dallas needing a pass blocking tight end. It felt like the consensus was that Dalton Kincaid is not a great blocking tight end. That he's a good receiver. In fact, I've heard him regarded as one of the great pure catchers of the draft, regardless of position. So I don't know. The Bills get away with it. It's somebody they need, but obviously he doesn't go to Dallas. I know there were a lot of Jason Witten comps and all that, so it's hard to get excited. I mean, we talked about this. It's hard to get excited about, especially interior defensive linemen and
Yeah,
offensive linemen. Like you're excited in the sense that you're like, okay, if my front office knows what they're talking about, this is like a team wide, really beneficial thing,
right.
but the
But
excitement is just not there. Yeah.
is yeah, which that's how it goes a lot of times in the draft, and it's just because I mean there's so many more linemen coming out of college than there are skill players, and it's
Mm-hmm.
just the way it is. But then you have teams like the Cardinals building up their O line. You can get a little excited about that because they're keeping. It shows that they're making efforts to keep Kyler safe, but still.
Still, if you're a Cardinals fan, it's hard to get excited in any
you
capacity.
can say
So,
woo, but that's about it.
yeah, yeah. Oh man, yeah. Let's just take a moment to just really appreciate we are not fans of the Arizona Cardinals.
No.
It could always be worse. So yeah, there's those four straight receivers. Dalton Kincaid gets potentially swept out from under the Cowboys. The Saints select Brian Breesy. Have you heard them saying that
I
one?
I've heard a lot. Breesy is what I think. It's Bressy. I've heard Breesy the most.
Okay.
I want to hear him say it.
Brese. Yeah, we'll have to wait for a good press conference or something. Yeah, do you have any thoughts about the pick? How does Saints Twitter feel about this?
There's mixed because there's a bunch of people that are mad that we didn't pick a skill player, but I think it's a very good pick for what we need, and I think that he's a monster. And I think our defense is going to be a little more of a priority for Dennis Allen this year. So I'm excited to see that. And I think that this showcases evidence of that they're going to try to build it up and get back to where they were at.
I can sense the nervousness in your voice when you're talking about Dennis Allen being the decision maker
Yeah, I
and
really did
building for
not
Dennis
want.
Allen's future.
I very
You were
much did
trying
not
really
want him
hard to
as head
sound
coach.
excited. I know that that's not the reality you're hoping for.
Yeah, that'll be
And then
fun.
you have to close it out. The Commanders, who I mean, honestly, you just start laughing when I just say the word Commander.
It's because you know that it's not a good thing about the. You're not like, oh, the Commanders have fixed the franchise.
Yep.
It's there's never good, it's never good news.
Yeah, no, the news, and I wrote this in the notes a specific way to highlight. For one, I was watching the draft with a Commanders fan, and he was talking the entire time. I mean, from pick number one to the Commanders' first pick, he's like, "I just want Christian Gonzalez," right? It's like one of the better corners on the board. He sounds really stoked about getting this guy, and the pick comes up at 16. Christian Gonzalez is on the board at corner, and they pick Forbes, Emmanuel Forbes, and he is just devastated. He's absolutely crushed. And then less than 5 minutes later, Patriots on the clock. The pick is in. They've selected cornerback Christian Gonzalez, and he just fell to his knees. It was just absolutely horrible to watch. And then yeah, day two, same thing. They go safety this time, but two straight defensive backs. It didn't feel like great value, pretty unexciting, and they still refuse to address like so many things. Commanders, the Washington Commanders. Do you have any
That there you have
any
it.
input there?
That's
Yeah.
they're pretty easy to understand.
And you have to wonder how different this draft looks based on where they are in the transition of ownership. Like, are coaches and front office members making more conservative picks because there's a point of transition and they're trying to just like keep their job safe? Does this draft look the same if Josh Harris is already settled into the office and is doing his own thing? It felt like an autopilot draft
Yes. Yeah,
that
that's a
just
good way to
like,
put it.
yeah, like this was not the main thing happening for them, and they just went for one position. And that's the reality of the Commanders, man. It's tough.
They're a mess. They're a mess right now.
Man, it's bad when a Cowboys fan, I'm like genuinely hoping they could turn it around just a bit. Like just to get a little bit of the entertainment value back. I should never want their success, but I just find myself like it's genuine sympathy.
Yeah, I mean
It's
it's
gone on too
pitiful.
long.
It's pitiful to watch.
And dude, when those organizational report cards came out, and it
Oh
was
my goodness, that
and
was
Washington was like, I mean, either second to last or very last, but it was like,
yeah.
yeah, that's pretty much everything I pictured. They're one of the only teams in the NFL that makes players share rooms when they travel.
I saw that. That's ridiculous.
It's like, come on,
That's so
what are we
crazy.
doing? Yeah, I mean that is budget cutting to the max. That is hopefully when $7 billion pull up to the building, maybe the players will get their own rooms. Wouldn't that be the day? But but in the meantime, that's the state of the Commanders, and this is episode 11 of Outside the Numbers. What are we going to get to next week?
Well, next week's schedule comes out, so we'll get to see that, be able to plan potential games we might be able to visit. I don't know.
That sounds like a great time.
That would
We
yeah,
could. We should make our like best games of the week, travel options. Try to find a weekend where we can fit in two games.
that'd be wild.
Maybe a Monday night in New York and a Sunday night in Philly or something like that.
That'd be a blast. Yeah.
But yeah, this has been episode 11. We will be back with y'all sometime in the middle of next week. Thank you for tuning in.